Welcome to the Chi for Two podcast. We're a group of Chi for Two embodiment coaches that look at pop culture with a Chi for Two lens. My name is Chelsea Szegidewicz.
I am Fred Shelton.
I'm Cas Pryor.
And this is the Chi for Two podcast.
Ooh, yeah.
Chi for Two is a mindful embodiment method.
We borrow the name or the word Chi from East Asian traditions, meaning energy in and around the body.
Or two refers to how our life force energy, our Chi, is affected by two-person interactions.
And today we're talking about the movie Backrooms. Oh my God, I'm so excited to talk about this.
Yeah, yes. Backrooms was an interesting one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not even sure what to make of it, but we can start with the synopsis. Clark is Captain Clark of his own furniture store. The store is struggling. You know, we see in the beginning him working on marketing and trying to attract people to his store, right? And then at the same time, he's also dealing with, I want to say, substance issues, right? And he's going to a therapist that we see earlier on. And then at some point within his furniture store, he's experiencing some electrical discrepancies or issues. And so he brings an electrician in to check out the fuse box, and there are some like off fuses that aren't aligned with it, and they're experimenting, and ultimately he's trying to just figure out what's going on with his electricity. And then at the same time, we learned that he's actually living out of the store. And so one evening there was something that occurred with the lights, and so he went to investigate, and at some point he falls through the wall of the basement, right? And so that's kind of the beginning of, you know, how we get to the back rooms.
I do want to say, just in terms of the synopsis, before we get too deep in it, that something happens at the beginning where he's seeing this therapist for the first time, or that we see is not his first time seeing her, but when we see a session, he's talking about his romantic partner. And that's the reason he's living in the store, is because he was kicked out because he's drinking and they're fighting. And the therapist invites him to do a role play where she is the wife and he is the husband. And just alarm bells going off in my head about that. Therapeutically speaking, that is not something that we would do in Chi for Two, because that's the therapist is in a position of power over the client, and it's like a parent-child. Ideally, romantic partners are peers and they're in a relationship with power equality. So she's sort of inviting what was already the problem, without any mindfulness of it, of conflation of mother-lover. That like he's bringing his baby stuff to his lover in the first place, and that was the whole problem. Now they're role-playing it in therapy and it doesn't really solve anything. He just kind of feels more and more like, where am I supposed to take this stuff? I guess to my back room.
Ideally, in that situation, the therapist would have directed him to bring that energy to her and, you know, feel into the energy of his significant other. And, you know, what she would have managed that in a different way in terms of, you know, not wanting to insert herself, or like, I think the role play, especially for those that aren't versed in Chi for Two, kind of makes sense. And it gives you a practice. It is unfortunate the therapist should not have played the spouse, right?
I imagine, because Dee has a lot of stuffed animals in her office, that she would be like, well, pick somebody to be your spouse. And maybe it's a bear or maybe her bunny. And like having like, this is spouse and this is me. And then Dee's over, you know, in front of us both catching. Like whatever's coming up for him, he's, you know, bring it to her.
Right.
And then role playing with the bear, the spouse. Perhaps that's how I kind of imagined it. So that there's still a parent in the room, and she is catching what is ultimately all of this just baby stuff that needs to go to an elder instead of each other.
This movie really, I'm thinking about the relationship between the therapist and Clark. because in the beginning it shows like a mom and a daughter who might have been Mary as a little girl. I'm not sure. I think so, right? And all of a sudden a bulldozer kind of comes in and takes over the scene. So bulldozer in the house, the mom, and she has this like slab of concrete from like a handprint that she keeps with her. So she's got a lot of trauma she's keeping with her, and it doesn't seem like she's able to kind of catch for Clark with all this stuff going on for her. Like she hasn't put her energy anywhere.
You do bring up a great point because there is a concept or a thought around, if your expert isn't perfect, then why do you go to them? Right. And it's like, no, doctors catch colds, lawyers might run a red light, and so the healer, whether it be your Chief of Two embodiment coach, you're a therapist, they should in their practice, be very cognizant of that transference, that opportunity or ability where if I'm your helper and you're going through something similar and I feel a certain type of way, I'm like, oh yeah, and you should feel this way too. That's the complete opposite of what healing and helping should look like, right? And so that's on the one hand. On the other hand, there is humanity. How do we see something that we resonate so significantly with and not insert ourselves? That's the practice. That's the work of the healer. And so Mary had a little bit more work to do, and being more cognizant of not inserting herself. I do think though that helping individuals that take that stance, they look at it, they think they are helping, and I think that it's just maybe less than ideal, right? I think any kind of exertion of energy and movement of it is helpful for clients. There is a cognition that should be maintained as the helper.
She definitely seems so trapped in her own body. Like, if you notice, she doesn't do a whole lot of movement generally in the movie, and her history, it looks like her trauma was around being trapped in her house with her mother, that her mother felt like there was stuff outside that was bad. I think there was some people online thinking, well, maybe she had been in the Backrooms and that's what happened to her mom. Metaphorically speaking, we all kind of go there. But her mom, had her trapped, and she wanted to open a window. I believe that the book that she's advertising on TV is about like open the window. Mm-hmm. That she wants to be able to look out and see. For me, it also felt like opening a window so she could breathe. But lots of things there. But because she was so immobilized, and you see her at some point, she's having some kind of gathering and move away and take something to shut down whatever's coming up for her, that she's doing similar coping things as Clark. Clark is using alcohol. So she doesn't have her arms around mindfully what it is that's going on with her enough. She's not ahead of her clients enough to be able to really turn and be able to get her arms around that. And she does discover this later in the film, and it seems comes to grips with it a bit later on. I think she could have done worse when Clark was coming in, talking about like and having the map and everything. Mm-hmm. But in real life, someone would have perhaps called the police and said, okay, this person is probably not in the agreed upon reality right now, and it might be a danger to themselves or others. Let's basket that and help them. But she did not do that. But she also had an experience where her mom was in an institution, and so probably was less likely to take that action and to trust those institutions to help. And so she felt like probably that she wish she could have saved her mom, and so she wanted to be the one to save Clark. He did some gross stuff.
He did some gross
in
stuff.
The scene.
Yes, he did.
Like taking the hair and putting it on her, so she hates a redhead now, which is, I guess, his former lover was a redhead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting exchange because he's doing this sort of dance around her, showing her all the things. Like very, Mommy, look what I've discovered. this is all this stuff. And I can just cut into these like fake people and you can eat it. I can eat people. But it's this like him discovering that his jaws and claws aren't bad. They're not bad, are they? What I'm doing isn't bad. Tell me I'm good. Tell me I'm good. Tell me I'm good. And just this wish that he could do this with a grown up, with a parent. In Cheaper too, we were very much about like celebrating fighting or the fighting rhythms and claws and jaws. Our claws and our jaws are not bad. We're animals. We need them. But it is not ideal to strangle someone and try to use our claws to control them. It is more ideal to use them to reach for some food and eat it. So him trying to find a way to this, and then the monster comes in, and he's like telling the monster, "We're okay. We don't have to change." So, and that's a part of him, and that's an embodiment of his monster self that he's felt like he's had this whole time, and that was rejected by his lover. And she's saying, "Yeah, don't change then." But the therapist is still trying to fight for her life, and like, this is crazy. I gotta get out of here. That it'd be useful to have healthy boundaries rather than diving into somebody's back rooms to try to save them. That she just says, "I can't save you," and it's true. It is an important truth for her to come to, because you really can't save people. It's this journey, that this whole psychic journey is, if the back room and the maze and all the characters in it are a part of the self, then he's going on his like hero's journey through the maze and embodying the monster, trying to embody all of the parts and integrate so that he can be his whole self. But he's lacking some tools and redos with elders that would help him do this without harming himself or anybody else.
That reminds me that in that scene at the table, Mary, the therapist, starts kind of losing it, and she's like, "You know what's wrong with you, Clark? It's all you think it's everyone else's fault. It's your fault. You're not." And she's just going off, throwing her goo at him, and he's like, "Oh, well, what if I like being this way? What if I don't want to change?" She's like, "You don't have to change. You don't have to." And when the pirate monster, so funny. You really didn't, I did not expect for it to be like a pirate monster. I expected it to be this scared, gross, like creature, alien thing. But it was just like this part of him over exaggerated and this caricature. Which
looked like a marionette.
It was so funny. Yeah, he really did. He was like, but yeah, the monster decides, no, like, I'm going to destroy you, and ends up killing Clark. And all that character with like the red hair, I call her the hobbly lady. She was hobbling around like, she like went to the corner and started screaming and trying to escape. That was so creepy. Oh, that was so creepy. That was so good though. But then, okay, so then Mary, she's like, I gotta get out of here. So she's running out, and the monster's chasing her. Eventually they face each other in what it looks like to be Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire, but it's just kind of a redo of it. And they meet face to face, and she's hitting him in the face with the cement hand print, but it doesn't kill him. But he's crying and he's weak, and he's still chasing her. And eventually she comes to that space that's really like the walls are this close together, and she's in there. And that moment when the monster reaches and he's just like, and she's just looking at him like, that really was a moment for me. And Chief too, like the reach, grab, pull, he's really reaching for something, someone to hold him, and no one can at this moment. Not even the therapist can hold him at this moment. And then she's found by these men in like protective suits and masks, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And then the scene changes. But I want to kind of pause there and talk about that reach and that moment where she's globbing him. And
yeah, the monster's a baby. his hungry baby. And so very, very, very pitiful and sad. Terrifying though, when we get, well, little babies, they're hungry. They're naturally very hungry and going to be doing a bunch of reach, grab, pull to get their needs met, and this is all fine. But as you get older and you have a bigger body, then yeah, and if you are a hungry baby still, and that move, that infant parent dance is not resolved, then yeah, the big desperate reach, grab, pull can be very dangerous. So having larger systems that are able to basket that so that you could still do the movement and have it resolved in a satisfying way, then it's more possible to do and play dance rather than fight flight, and you're not harming yourself or others. It's possible that that last reach, grab, pull that he did had some basketing to it, because that just that area was so narrow. He was doing it, and he could see somebody that was at least meeting his gaze, which, as a monster, it's hard to look at them. Everybody's always turning away and running away. So she was looking back at him, which is very dear. And then later when he comes out, we see him completely cocooned on a table. It looks like a cocoon in plastic wrap. So maybe he needed some cocooning.
He definitely did.
Well, possibly. Yeah, when she's out with the scientist guy.
Yeah.
She wants to go home. But he keeps asking her questions. And he has a look about him which is very similar to Clark's look. That he is saying, I think this place is everything. I think it's the most important thing ever, ever, ever. And we just have to learn about it. And if we can learn about it, then that'll solve everything, I guess. Which, as soon as you hear that, like this, if we fix this one thing, then we can, it's a very addictive kind of patterning. And she has this little smile, like she's like, well, now I'm caught in somebody else's crazy web. Which she always has been, and that's her patterning to get stuck in. But now she can see it. Maybe there'll be another Backrooms and she finds her way out. We don't know. But I think it is interesting how the female characters, generally except for Mary, are experience a little more, but she experiences it too, but like fear that like, this doesn't feel okay. I'm going to get out of here. Like even the maze one that you said, the wobbly, you say wobbly one?
The wobbly.
Is that what you call it?
Hobbly lady.
Hobbly lady. Yeah. She was able to experience the fight flight. Cat, which is a fun name because cats are going to sense this isn't okay. I'm out of here. Bye.
Yeah.
And the male characters are more likely to want to journey in and maybe shut down any sense that they had of this is not safe, and just keep going because they have that like, I need to conquer this. I just have to know. And if we're thinking of it as a psychic journey, then both of those, being able to embody both is the ideal. But anyway, it's interesting to see that.
I'm still wondering, like, for me, I think the ultimate or the thing we walk away from is that self-reconciliation, that self inventory. And, I think a B plot to that is making sure you have the right helping professional. But, doing the work that's necessary in order to show up as your whole self, what I derived from it, I think you had stopped at the end of that conversation between the main character and Clark and Mary. At some point, she's with the scientist. He's asking her the questions, and it's really like, how do we, what do we do with this, and how do we basically make money off of it? Ultimately, they didn't say that, but that's where it's coming. And then it transitions into her back in the back rooms. And she is now, her face is kind of off-centered, and she is now among those few individuals that Clark encountered when he was in the back room. So I was not quite sure how that part of the ending kind of went with everything. But crazy movie, weird movie. I enjoyed it. But what do you guys think about that ending?
I mean, I think that if the maze is it can be the guts, it can be like the intestines. The maze, we talk about in G for two, the maze is like going through all of these things. So this different doing movement redos of movement practices in the pouch or the lab. You can go in different orders. It's not all linear. Sometimes you're doing one that's in the watch circle sport. Sometimes you're doing one in the pouch. Sometimes and it's all a maze. That we can get stuck if we're only focusing on the head brain, I think. And we can feel kind of trapped when we don't consider the whole body and consider the whole nervous system, and then also consider the nervous system in relationship. That there were no parent figures really helping. It seemed like the scientists were watching, but they weren't doing anything to help anybody. And we all do go in the maze. I was telling Dee this. I was like, I'm not going in there. And she's like, but you do. You do it all the time. I've done lots and lots of this work that is very, very hard on myself, going into my own maze. And I do it. And it feels crazy. And then it doesn't. That is the work. So I think it's lovely that they put this out with these and ending with questions, questioning how therapy is done and questioning the science of it all as well, as a way kind of to push back too against things that don't feel as helpful, trying to find the things that are helpful. I think this originated, I looked it up, Backrooms was like a creepy pasta thing. And I had to look up what creepy pasta means. It's supposed to sound like copy paste. So the beginning times of the internet, people posting things and then somebody copying, pasting and adding their thing to it and on and on and on and building and trying to scare each other. And apparently that's where Slender Man came from as well. And so everybody adding their piece. So I think that's part of what Mary's was in there. She'd been in there and she kind of copy pasted. And when you copy paste, things don't turn out. They're not an exact great copy. They kind of get distorted. And so that's what she is now within the maze. So I think that's what, but it makes me think of AI too, because AI does that. And that's so you can tell like how a photo or a video is AI because it's got the weird faces and extra fingers. And that we're in this now. Like if you told AI what these rooms are supposed to look like, would they make something like Backrooms? It doesn't have a body, so how would it interpret and do it? And so it's just kind of interesting thinking of it through that lens. Although I don't think it was intended to be that.
Yeah. So like our backrooms, our subconscious mind,
Your nervous system,
our nervous system,
and your guts, the twists and the turns, and where things are stuck in piles of furniture, I guess, where things get tight.
Yeah.
And you crawl through the movements that you do to get through that part of the maze as a baby crawl, like a birth crawl, and getting these redos. And the monster versions of ourselves. So we run from, can we face them? What tools do we have to face them? Mary had a piece of cement or something that might have been her handprint or her mom's handprint, but feels like it was sort of a multi-generational. At least she got something from her mom to fight off this monster. The sounds that I remember from the movie were like a high-pitched kind of electric sort of buzzing, which is very unsettling. And I'm wondering, Chelsea, if you remember other things about the choices they made for the sound. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it. Yeah. I actually,
Yeah.
Because I was told it was very scary, I wore earplugs for the movie. And I'm glad I did, because even through the earplugs, I could feel the pulse of the bass and the music enough to where it would make my heart pulse with the rhythm that they were giving us. So my heart would race at moments. Yeah, it was really unsettling. It was beautifully done. And I love the synthesizers they would play in between. It was kind of like, I just felt really eerie at moments for me. So yeah, definitely unsettling. Beautiful job they did. I was really impressed by that. How did you guys feel with the sound?
I definitely expected a little bit more. It wasn't the Scream, Terrifier, slasher, blood and guts type horror movie, right? So it was more of the Amityville horror, like jump scare, right? So I definitely don't like. There's a creaking of a wooden floor that is a pretty ubiquitous sound that I associate with some scary movies, right? And I wouldn't with this one. There's not something specific. Now that electrical buzzing that I think Cass and I, we talked about it. I did hear that. I don't necessarily think that was, I think that was supposed to just indicate like the reason why he was investigating and all of the lights. We ultimately see the monsters using a lot of the power and stuff like that. Um, but it was eerie. I would agree wholeheartedly with you that it was masterfully done in terms of like all of the different elements coming together to give you a solid, cohesive performance or piece of art that does get you thinking. I don't know that it was intended to scare you in the sense of like a phobia type or like it is supposed to scare us into doing some of that self thought and that sitting with the self and the a lot of what you said earlier, Cass, in terms of the pandemic and if people sat with themselves or found ways to distract themselves. But yeah, I think musically it was more so just what fit for the scene. But there were a few moments where it was like, I don't want to hear that sound again. So
Yeah.
it kind of ran the gamut.
It it reminds me now thinking about it of all the sounds that we probably hear all the time without necessarily being conscious of them anymore. That might be affecting our nervous systems. That we hear like an electrical buzzing. I hear my laptop right now. I know when the power's off. I don't hear my refrigerator anymore. And the sound of like electric cars. I've noticed the electric cars and the hybrid car sound more now because it's not as familiar. I don't really notice regular car sounds as much because it's just background noise, backroom noise. Um, so all of that, and I think there was creaking that happened because and I don't remember because it's been a few weeks, but like when you're in the rooms, not necessarily the creaking of something coming to you, but almost the sound of the shifting of the space. That it is the back room itself is alive and it's moving. Even though that's a little confusing too, because I don't remember him going through places and when he went through it again, it being different every time. Like if he changed something, it stayed changed, I believe. Except for I think he kept taking the stop sign out and the stop sign came back. So maybe okay, so I'm trying to work that out. But the space being alive and it moving in a creaky sort of stretchy way. But we hear our houses move. They're settling all the time, and that's used a lot. It's funny that I don't remember the bass as much because I think I was feeling it, and it was the scary parts, like the more scary parts. And I think it's so funny, just having since we all saw it at different times, what we remember and what stayed with us and what different and what didn't, and your background as a musician, Chelsea, as well. Like, anyway, so yeah, I just if it's the sounds we all hear all the time, and how that is affecting our nervous system, just the world that we live in and our ambient noises and how we interpret them based on how safe or unsafe we feel in our bodies. We don't feel safe in our bodies and we hear this sound, maybe it's something menacing. And we might interpret it that way just because of all the adrenaline that's in our coursing through our body, looking for an enemy to fight.
Mm. Mm.
Well said.
Well said. Something else that I noticed too with the sounds were like at one point, it's near the beginning of when Clark was entering the rooms. And he heard that like the language, the like different languages happening, and then that like cutout poster person and all that stuff. But also, what was happening in the background, I heard like flutes kind of and like almost like chanting, like it sounded like haunting and it felt ancient. And that's kind of where the like multi generational thing came in. There's so much to do too with like, I don't know, just the blending of people and society and cultures and yeah, that was all kind of shown in that one scene. I didn't quite hear the flutes again, but I'm curious about that choice and why they chose those sounds. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was really
Yeah,
fascinating.
using that, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it looked like it was supposed to be a depiction of a religious figure. I don't know if you agree with that
Hmm.
or not,
Hmm.
but then it had the attached to his chest. It had it would look like some sort of audio machine that was emitting several different languages, and that is a very interesting thing because if the back room is supposed to be like subconscious, you know, was he exposed to those different languages at some point? Is it supposed to be indicative of the melting pot that is society? I think that you're onto something there, and I was curious about that choice, especially since at some point I thought it was encountered, and then it was encountered in one place, and I thought there was some change to it, and then it stopped, and then later on in the movie it was somewhere else, and it started over again, right? And so
Well,
there was a
I'm
lot of questions.
wondering whether that was part of the back room or if it was put in by the scientists because it was right in front of their camera the first time we see it. So they have a camera that they're watching, and whether it's supposed to be bait for a trap or attract the monster or attract whatever humans are in there and just see what happens because it doesn't look like they're intervening in any way. So we see it there. We see the monster has it in the pile of clothes and stuff in its little den in the
Mhm.
belly of the back rooms. And I think we also see it where they have set a trap in what looks like the Ottoman Empire store. There's that ring of all the like the gas cans. I think it's there. So I think they might have been attempting to catch the monster. Part of me wants to believe they also knew that Mary was there and they were going to save her, but I don't think they were. I think they just wanted to catch the monster.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been bait. But I haven't looked it up. I bet there's somebody who has posted what was on the recording.
It's interesting, Fred, that you thought that was like a religious character in a way, because it was just like a white guy with a beard.
And I thought I saw a crown of thorns, though.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go. I'll have to go back and look, but the
Yeah.
way the person was clothed, as well as yes, beard, but I also thought I saw long hair as well. So maybe it wasn't Jesus. Maybe it was just a regular, person. And certainly, obviously, there is debate around what Jesus looked like, right? So
Right. Exactly.
aside from all of that, it did look like what I thought was one opinion of what he looks like, but it may not have been. It might just have been, Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it did look like Jesus to
It's
me
a
at one.
caveman.
Caveman. Okay,
Oh,
interesting.
caveman.
Well, that also kind of throws things. If somebody affiliated with the movie confirms it's caveman, that's then
They
interesting because
are
it would be pre-verbal,
mm,
Oh,
pre-language,
interesting.
agreed upon language.
The recordings are from NASA's Golden Voyager record to establish communication with unknown life forms. Chelsea, you were saying that it was very eerie and your heart was racing at times.
mm,
And the idea of appreciating how well they did with like the sound and everything that they did to make it such a visceral experience. Being able to go see a scary movie and do that and enjoy it and feel safe when you get out how do we see a scary movie, but then also kind of get all that whatever we had worked out of us so that we feel kind of settled. And just the difference, I guess, of scary movie scared and actual terror, like all of that. I'm just really interested in it.
Hmm.
Think you guys have thoughts?
Listeners, I was telling Cass and Fred that I really don't usually watch scary movies. So, seeing this, I thought I was going to be very scared. And because I had my comforts with me, I had a cup of coffee. It was a nice warm little drink. I actually brought like a little blanket and then the earplugs that really helped because sound is everything to me in a movie. And it really, it's so part of it. It's so part of it. So having the muffle that made me feel safe, and having my buddy, who I love and trust, made me feel safe. And being in the very back, where I could kind of take notes, I could see everything, everyone in the room. It felt like I was okay. I'm in control here. I've got a little bit of control here. I'm okay.
I think for the idea of walking into a scary movie, especially if you are easily scared, I think there is. Well, for me, I do it because my person likes scary movies. And I think for her, it's a matter of like going through those feelings. And when the monster jumps out of nowhere and you get that thing in your stomach, I don't know if there's like I think there might be a little bit of enjoyment there or a little bit of you get a taste. You're not actually scared. You get to be in a theater with other people, or you get to be at home on the couch with me. Like we are safe actually, but it is that opportunity to like kind of feel what it's like for those that enjoy it.
Yeah, so separation from that. You feel your bubble and your sense of self and good, strong boundaries. You can ground in the moment and feel safe in your body. And so all of this stuff is possible through play dance, like screaming a little bit. Ah! So getting to do that sound expression with your peers on your side and experience it together. Because I personally love seeing horror movies with other people and in the theater if possible, and people yelling and saying "Don't go in there" and all of that. It's super fun as getting to feel a connection to the community. So yeah, having that separation and going to do those movements with a sense of play sound like it. And but on the flip side, have there been any movies that you guys have seen that were scary that you took home with you and that lingered with you, and it was a little harder to maintain that separation? And what was different about them or about you?
It wasn't even a scary movie. It was just an emotionally draining, sad movie for me, and it was a Disney movie. It was the movie The Good Dinosaur. Have you guys seen that?
Oh yeah, I have seen that
That
one.
that tore me apart. I was so sad for days after seeing that movie. Seeing a little, like for me, what gets me out of my body and so sad is like seeing an animal getting hurt, or like seeing a child, or in this case the good dinosaur was a child dinosaur, but this poor dinosaur was going through it, like falling down cliffs, getting scraped up, missing their family. That will destroy me, and it did, and it has. But luckily, I have Dee, an amazing therapist, to throw all my goo at and be caught by. And I was gonna say too, like in a scary movie, it kind of gives you permission to move energy. Like it's known that you can go and scream at a scary movie and everyone around you is allowed to do that. So it kind of, yeah, I love that permission. It allows you to be able to do that in a way, like the theater is a womb kind of space. As long as you're not getting it on people, but kind of just in your bubble and filling your bubble with your scream and your air. That feels
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
For me, they were as a kid, anything if something was in the house or in the basement, those would be the movies that would get me for sure. Today, I don't know if there's anything that's like, oh, that really affected me. There's a trilogy that came out some years ago. Pearl, Maxine, and X. I don't think that's the right order, but those movies were memorable in the sense of like how everything occurred. When there's not like movies where there's not like a monster, but it's like a pandemic. Or when it's like, for example, I do remember one, The Hills Have Eyes. That one got me, and I was like 9. I was probably too young to have watched it, but that one was scary for me. Um, but nowadays, I don't. We saw Obsession. Obsession was supposed to be scary, and that one was just kind of more funny. Um, and so now I think I'm just kind of jaded. I like, oh, this is fake, so I'm just gonna sit here and watch it. And I think what it is, I don't buy in enough in order to be scared. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, that's how I would answer that. What
Right.
about you?
Uh, I think that the last one might have been Paranormal Activity. That's another one where there's something in the house. That was a fun one because it was like the fan supported one. So
Mhm.
like it wasn't widely distributed, and then I was one of the ones that requested it be played in Atlanta, and then it blew up like after everybody like requested it in their cities. So it was super fun. It was fun to see, but it definitely plays on that. Like there's only so much you can see in the camera lens. So there and that makes it really hard. But also, yeah, like things moving in the house and stuff. Like no. I think it was when I lived in my parents' house, anything like that would have scared me more. Um, they had a bigger house and it was older and full of stuff that wasn't mine, and dark corners and creaks. And walking up the stairs from the basement, I was always like, someone's chasing me, I'm gonna go faster. And and I swear I heard somebody talking. It was probably just sound traveling through a vent, but like a general level of tension that I am so glad that I don't have where I live right now. Because it's mine and I'm a grown up, and there aren't dark corners and things hidden that aren't mine. It's just my stuff.
I literally, as a kid, would go downstairs at night for like a glass of water and turn on all the lights. The hall light upstairs, the light leading down the stairs, the light at the front door, the light at the living room, and then the light in the kitchen. It's like,
Yeah.
how are you this scared in your own home? But yeah, make
I
sure
always
nobody was there, pop it out. So
I'm so glad
exactly.
to be a grown up in my grown up body.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
It's yes.
I'd walk around the house with a blanket on top of me, like if I was scared. It always made me feel better. Just a blanket on top. Just like
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like at chief2podcast@gmail.com. I'm Chelsea Szegidewicz.
I'm Fred Shelton.
I'm Cas Pryor.
Thanks for
Catch you next
listening,
time.
guys.
Mhm.